Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Woodhaven Cultural and Historical Society. We're on Zoom tonight. Wish we would be all in person, but hopefully sometime soon we'll be able to do that. Tonight we'll be talking about something we call here life on the border, Woodhaven and Ozone Park. And again, it's a shared history and appreciation of the shared history of these two great neighborhoods. So let's get started here, and close that. There we go. Introduction. Okay, a little bit about ourselves. We are the Woodhaven Cultural and Historical Society, and we were founded in 1992. So we've been around a long time. I joined in 2010. Is when I became a member. And by that time, they had accomplished quite a lot. There's our email address down at the bottom, woodhavenhistory@gmail.com. If you want to be on our mailing list, just drop us a line. We don't send you a lot of email. We don't spam you. When we've got something going on, we send you a note, and that's about it. So if you want to send us your email, we'll add you to the list. And now a little bit more about us, some of what you might know us for. First are the historical markers that the Woodhaven Cultural and Historical Society has placed around Woodhaven. You may have seen them, the big cast iron blue and yellow signs. You can see that Mae West, Betty Smith, the clock tower. And the clock tower is one that we'll be talking about a lot tonight. And that clock tower sign can be seen right on Atlantic Avenue. Hold on a second here. There we go. And okay, thank you. Sorry, we had someone drawing there, so we just had to get rid of that. Thank you. So these are the historical markers, and this one down here, the clock tower. Again, we'll be talking a bit about tonight. The Woodhaven Cultural Historical Society, also known for republishing this book by Vincent Seyfried, The Story of Woodhaven and Ozone Park. And this is a great book. This is a book that a lot of us, it turned a lot of people on to Woodhaven history. When this was reprinted, I bought my copy in Lewis of Woodhaven. And my initial view, the view you're looking at right now, is seeing the picture of the horses running through town, and as a younger person, the idea that Woodhaven could have been like this was very exciting to me, very interesting. So, in any event, picked up this book, and the rest is history, as they say. For a lot of us, we became lovers of the history of Woodhaven. It's a very detailed book, and it's very fact driven. It's a good factual telling of the history of Woodhaven, and has a lot of good information, a lot of good old pictures. Another thing you may know the Woodhaven Cultural and Historical Society for is the research and discovery that we've done over the past couple of years. One of the things that probably our proudest achievement was this right here, and it started with this very clipping right here. This was in 1918, just shortly after World War I had ended, and it said here that they planned a memorial tablet in Forest Park. And that's what started us on a quest to find out where that memorial tablet was in Forest Park and which one they were referring to, and that led to a whole bunch of other discoveries along the way. And it was actually, it's funny, through all the different presentations and different material that we found, this photograph here, which was a photograph from a 1924 aerial photograph. It's amazing. You go on the Department of Buildings website, and they have, you can do an aerial map, and you can go back and see aerial views from 1951 and 1924. They must have been taken from like a blimp, and they pieced the photographs together. But they do a really, really excellent job of it. And it was my wife who pointed out. She said, "Hey, you remember that picture of Forest Park? Because we were looking for the memorial trees." And in actuality, down here, this is right across from the golf house, Oak Ridge. Right here, remember that triangle that used to be there? You can actually see the tablet that they put up there. That tablet is no longer there. It's in front of the American Legion. But here are the trees. And the families of the dead used to decorate those trees every Memorial Day. Each one of those trees was planted in memory of a soldier from Woodhaven, and as you'll find out later, from Ozone Park, that was killed in World War I. And the families and residents used to decorate those trees in their honor each Memorial Day. And that's something, a tradition that we started up again a few years ago, and have been doing it every year since then. We decorate those are the trees right there. So you might know us from that. And then we ended up getting that roadway co-named Forest Park Memorial Drive. Another dedication that we got done was something that actually took place. The dedication took place in Ozone Park, and that was the triangle, the memorial triangle, named after Father Lawrence Lynch. He was a priest, and he grew up in Cypress Hills. But he was considered a Woodhaven resident. As you see down here in the headline, a young Woodhavenite had been cited for bravery 5 times. He was an Irish priest. He was a tough guy. He was the Fighting 69th and the he was killed in battle, and he was a beloved priest. And there was a book written about him, Father Cyclone. And it's a terrific book. It's a great read about a tremendous man, and people had forgotten his name because the triangle that had his name on it no longer had a sign or a marker or anything. It fell off one year, and nobody said anything, and that was it. And we found out where the triangle was. It's right near Rockaway and Atlantic, and they'd actually named a football league after Lawrence Lynch, and that was Linvets. So most of you probably remember Linvets. And it came from the first 3 letters of his last name, Lynch, and then other veterans, Linvets. And in any event, this is a triangle here. You've probably passed by it a million times. And this is Rockaway and Atlantic. And, they just had a sign up there that said, like, Green Streets. That was it. But we put in a petition, and we got that triangle, and again, that's on the Ozone Park side. We got that triangle renamed in Reverend Lawrence E. Lynch's his honor, and family members showed up. It was a really nice time. We did it right near St. Patrick's Day. It was perfect. And you also may know us from our work with the historic cemetery here in Woodhaven. This is what it looked like in 2014. And then through regular work, we had it cut down in really good shape. Now, we haven't been there in a long time because the church got renovated, and then this year has been kind of a washout on things. But we're hoping next year to be back in there. And if you're interested, we go there one day a month, and we do yard work, and it's a lot of fun. We eat pizza afterwards, and it's a great place. You can see right here this big monument. This cemetery goes back to the 1700s or beyond. And you see this big monument right here. This is for the Eldert family. So, and in here is a tombstone, and you'll be getting a sneak preview of our article in tomorrow's Leader Observer. It's a bit of a ghost story. And here we have a tombstone of a Miss Mary Eldert, wife of Eldert, who died in 1891. And the question of how her tombstone came to be leaning against this tree, and the ghost stories surrounding Miss Mary Eldert is something we're going to be discussing later on, because it has a very, very nice Ozone Park connection. So we're going to do a poll. We'll see. We're going to see how this works. First little poll. It's kind of a question, and here's the question for everybody: are you from Woodhaven or Ozone Park? I want to kind of get an idea of what kind of crowd I got here in the room. And if you're from neither place, then just pick one of them. All right. Just a few more people to vote. We're going to be closing down voting here in a few seconds and reveal to you the answers. We got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens up. So here we go. The results on this one. We got, let's see, we got 63% Woodhaven, 37% Ozone Park. Good mix there. And thank you for participating in that, our first poll. How about that? All right. So let's move on to our next our next thing. This is a really old picture of a spot in Ozone Park. This is the old Clark homestead, and this was built sometime in the 1700s and was around close to the turn of the century, close to 1900. It was still around. So it was a well-known local landmark, and it was also known in later years as Clark's Woods, because you had this homestead, but you had a lot of woods around it, and people in the area used to have picnics there, and consider it something like Forest Park. It was a place where people used it. It belonged to the Clark homestead, but apparently it was pretty much open to everybody. And it was said, local legend, that George Washington during the Revolutionary War, you always hear that, say George Washington slept here, but that's what they said. They said that he stopped there and spent the night in this homestead here in Clark's Woods. And this is where Clark's Woods used to stand, where the Cross Bay movie theater used to be. It became Modell's, which recently closed. That whole area right there, that was the entrance right there to the Clark homestead in Clark's Woods. And again, George Washington, he slept there. It's great. When you drive past that's the kind of thing, if you've got relatives in town or people from out of town, and you're driving around and you pass by, you can point to the Modell's, whatever it is, and you say, hey, George Washington slept there. You can tell them that. And if they question you, you can just tell them you heard about it on the internet. So it has to be true. Another big name in Ozone Park history, one you folks are going to be very familiar with, is John Pitkin. John Pitkin from Connecticut came to New York, and he had here's a younger picture of him. That's like the official version of him. This is like a younger portrait. This would be like his Facebook profile picture. He's a man with a dream. And his dream was basically this, this is in the 1830s, and he's got this notion that the way the city of New York is built could be much better if it was laid out differently. And he has this vision of a new city that has really good access to land and agriculture, and good pathways to water. And he chose this area all through here, and in his plan, he gave it the name East New York, a name you're familiar with. But think about it, this is a city he was building, and it was going to be east of New York City, so it was East New York. And And at that time, all of this area was going to be part of this city of East New York. And you can see this is our area here. You know, if you like maps, and you know, if you're into history, maps are great. But what you're looking at right here, where these arrows are right here, that's Forest Park up there. You know, that's like up in Forest Park. And this road that's coming down right here, winding right through, is Connecticut Avenue. This is a line that really, if you continue it up northward, you're going to end up, you know, towards Flushing. In fact, for a while, people used to call it Flushing Avenue. And if it keeps on going down, you're going to go down towards Jamaica Bay. So that's Connecticut Avenue, and then you've got a road going across east-west, and that's Jamaica Turnpike. And then you've got another road going east-west parallel to Jamaica called, well, Atlantic Avenue. That's what they called it right from the beginning. And look at that. You know, you can start to see where our area takes shape, right? I mean, you can see there's the roadways. There's Jamaica Avenue. There's Atlantic Avenue. There's Woodhaven Boulevard. Yeah, that's how it was from the beginning. those roads, you could go back in time, and though they'd be smaller and dirt roads, they would still be the same roads. Another poll. We don't have too many polls tonight, but like a good poll. So now we got to do. Hold on. Here we go. We're going to launch a poll and see this. Here you go. You got to get ready to answer this question. We're going to give you 30 seconds this time. So why don't we sit too long? 30 seconds to answer this following question. What was Woodhaven originally called? Was it Woodside? Was it Woodbury? Was it Woodville? Or was it Woodcock? The votes are coming in. 15 seconds left. We've only had 63% vote. We got some more coming in. We get a few more in under the wire. 2, 1, pens up. All right. And here we go. We're going to share the results with everybody. And resounding, everyone said Woodville, except for one soul who I thank you very, very much for voting for Woodcock. Thank you. So there's our poll our poll results. All right, so here we are, Woodville. You know, Woodville was going to be just this small section of East New York. It was a small part. It was a small part of it. It was supposed to be the manufacturing part and the farming part, and there you have it. That's where it's located. And then what happens is in the 30s there's a freeze. It's like a stock market crash. People just start losing a whole lot of money, and Mr. Pitkin loses a lot of money, and his investors lose a lot of money, and the whole idea falls apart. Everything just all falls apart. But you still have the land that's been bought. You still have the towns that have started built. You still have Woodville. You still have all that. As a matter of fact, when you're looking on this map right here, you can see it, the little dotted figures, the two of the racetracks that you have here. You have Union Corsair racetrack, which if you've been to Nears, you're familiar with it. And then you've got over there the Eclipse Centerville racetrack. So you're also hopefully familiar with that one. That one's a different one. So you have those two racetracks over there, and everything else again is set up for the future. What happens is in 1853 they decide, hey, we've been growing enough that it's time for us to have a post office. We want to have our own post office, and so they put in a request, and the request was rejected. And the reason why it was rejected was because there already was a Woodville, New York, already established 1827. So in the beginning, it was no problem that there was more than one Woodville, but they already had a post office, and we didn't. So at that point, we had to make a change. So Woodville, New York, was going to get changed to a different name, and John Pitkin was very influential in coming up with the new name. His favorite was Woodhaven, and that's what Woodhaven eventually became in 1853. But the popular name suggested by everybody was either Edgemere or Edgewood. They seem to like the idea that Woodhaven or the town was right on the edge of the woods of Forest Park up there. So that's where they got the word edge from. So it was going to be either Edgemere or Edgewood. So anyway, John Pitkin, even though his grand plan didn't pan out exactly the way he wanted, there are still some remnants of many remnants of what he did here, and some of the street names that were named after him. Pitkin Avenue is the one that is still remaining, and 91st Avenue in Woodhaven was originally Thrall Place, and that was his wife's maiden name, Edith Thrall. So a street was named after his wife. 95th Avenue was named University Place because he had a school there. Because one of the things he did was he developed a method of making shoes. It was almost like an assembly line, and shoemakers went to school there and learned how to make shoes. And that's where they got the name University Place, from the school that he ran there. And again, because of his trade of making shoes, 102nd Avenue in Ozone Park was originally named Shoe and Leather Place. So there you go. That's some of the names from Pitkin. So again, looking at the map, and this is a map later on. This is 1873, and again, these maps are just fascinating to look at. Lots of detail when you can pull in really close. But I put a nice red line right across there because, right there, that's Atlantic Avenue. That's going right across the map there. And that kind of gives you a visual cue of hey, where our neighborhoods are, right? Woodhaven and Ozone Park, right over the border from each other. Boom, boom. And that's what those lines were. That's what those lines are now. That's what they mean to us now. But, back then, the upper part was really, you had the racetrack, and over towards the Brooklyn side of that, Unionville, that was kind of, that had a lot of housing there. You can see it's kind of built up and congested over here, but over here you see a lot of empty spaces, and that's farms. So there were a lot of farms over here. And then down here on this side of Atlantic Avenue, which we currently call Ozone Park, was Woodhaven Village. That part down there was Woodhaven Village, or in later years they called it Old Woodhaven Village, but that was Woodhaven Village. And that was on that side. That was the original, so when you're walking through all of that area, that's Old Woodhaven Village. So where's Ozone Park? Where in the old maps, how did the name Ozone Park come about? So the first thing to keep in mind is a lot of this is because the railroad came to Woodhaven. And why did the railroad come to Woodhaven? Well, they wanted to get to Jamaica. That was one big reason. But also along the way, there were places. This was no longer just a sleepy little farmland. We had a racetrack, and with the racetrack, you had a lot of other things. You had hotels. You had different business was starting to boom. There was a building boom at this time where more and more houses were being built, farms were being sold off, and houses were being built because they needed to house people who were coming here to stay and work. So a railroad comes to a populated area, and the first railroad along the border that comes is what's called the Brooklyn Jamaica Railroad, and that runs right along the surface of Atlantic Avenue. And the other one is the Rockaway branch, which comes later on. And those two railroads, that's where a lot of activity was around. Think about it. That's in those days you didn't get out and hop in a car and go places. So a lot of activity was hovering around these places. And there was a building boom at the time, and real estate got involved. And so look at the size of this map. We know how big it is now. We know how big it is to walk around our own neighborhoods, whether it be Woodhaven, whether it be Ozone Park. Those days, they were walking up hills. It was a lot rougher. They started building all these houses, but to describe where the places were, the real estate guys, they got kind of cute. They started parceling up parts of Woodhaven and giving them names. Wyckoff Park. That's one right here. Simpson Park. You know what? Simpson Park is up near Forest Parkway and Park Lane South as you're heading into the park, or just above the library. That area up there was Simpson Park. Columbia Park was off 91st Street and Woodhaven. That's actually, I live in what used to be Columbia Park. Napier Park was over by 96th Street and 97th Street. That was after the Napier family. Belmont Park, I forget where Belmont Park was. I think that was over near 85th Street. Eldert Park was near over by Eldert's Lane. Chester Park, I forget that was. I think that might be even on the other side. And one of the small neighborhoods, that carved out of Woodhaven was Ozone Park. So the question is, and that's not a poll question, but the question is, why did the Wyckoff Park, Simpson Park, Columbia Park, Elder Park, Belmont Park, Napier Park, why did these names fade from memory? So many more of them, but not Ozone Park. How come Ozone Park caught on? And it's because of this right here. It's because of the railroad. Because there was a train station. And what you're looking at right there is the Ozone Park train station. Ozone Park originally was about a 4 square block area. And it just so happened it was right there where the railroad was. So they named the railroad after that small section. So people started knowing, hey, get off at Ozone Park. Ozone Park started getting an identity, and it was because of this railroad. Little close up there. I'd love to see a clearer image of this, but this is as good as I got right now. But it's really nice to see the sign over the door and everything, and so this is the Ozone Park station over here at the for the Rockaway branch. And just so you know, looking at it, it's easy because we're not used to this, but it looks like this is almost like at grade level. It's hard to really tell, but it was up here someplace, and again, there's I'm going to be honest with you, there's going to be times I'm still piecing things together. So I don't know if Little Shack was up there and they had to walk up and get to it up there. It seems like that's how it would be, but in any event, this stop was over here near Ozone Park, and Ozone Park also had a precinct for a short period of time. Here, right there, there's your 282nd precinct in Ozone Park. It's a building that no longer exists. The Broadway and Ocean Avenue covered Ozone Park, Woodhaven, and Glendale. It must have been, it's kind of an odd, but again, the borders were kind of messing around there. Established 1908 and abolished June 1914. So it wasn't a long time. And this is approximately where it would be. It was next to the train station. It was right next to the train station. It was right there, and there's no old buildings over there. So certainly nothing that matches that original one. So let's take a look at this railroad, the Atlantic Avenue Railroad. Again, it was founded as the Brooklyn and Jamaica Railroad. It opened April 18th, 1836. By this time, the Union Course racetrack had been in business for about 15 years and had already had some, at least one really well-attended race with 50 or 60,000 people. You consider how difficult it was for people to travel in those days. But what else are you going to do? They probably didn't realize it was difficult. It was just, that was what they were used to, right? That's what they know. And the advent of the railroad was huge because it put safe travel in the hands of people. They could go places now, and so once the racetrack is here and once the community starts building up and Jamaica's building up, they need this railroad, and now things are really going to start hopping once this railroad goes into place. And remember, this is still, even though the Union Course racetrack started in 1821. Again, Woodhaven is still just a year old at this point. And this is what is a much later picture of the railroad, but this is what the railroad looked like running along Atlantic Avenue. Again, it was a surface railroad. It wasn't an L train. It wasn't, it went from Brooklyn, this close to us, and towards that way towards Jamaica, and back and forth along there. And it was these big powerful locomotives, these big machines that rode down Atlantic Avenue with the old carriages carried behind them. This is an actual Atlantic Avenue train. This is not just some train. This is an actual one taken on Atlantic Avenue. I mean, fantastic to see those riding down. It must have been tremendous. But again, because it was surface, because it's outside, it was subject to all the all the weather, all the bad weather. So there you have a train on Atlantic Avenue that's frozen. So the stations along the Brooklyn and Jamaica Railroad, originally you had two of them. You had Union Course and you had Woodville. And here's a timetable. This is from 1848, and you can see it leaves. This is in the AM. It leaves Brooklyn at 8 a.m. It hits Bedford at 8:30, East New York at 8:40, Union Course at 8:50, and Woodville at 8:56, and then its next stop is 10 minutes later in Jamaica. So a bit over an hour from Brooklyn to Jamaica on that, and that was a commute that took a lot longer before that. It was a tremendous I wonder if you could do better nowadays, right? There you go. There's a good look at the schedule. And right there, Union Course and Woodville. Those were our two original stops. So let's take a look at the first one, Brooklyn and Jamaica Railroad. The Union Course, also known, I've seen it in some of the early things with the racetrack, especially. They also used to call it Wyckoff's Lane. And here's where the train stopped here. Again, it was a surface railroad, and as you can see in pictures like this, where they are quite cold. Hold on one second. Let's give me one moment here. There we go. All right. So here we go. So this is the Union Course track, and you can see there it looks like a pretty cold day. It's really interesting, where this location is. You'll recognize this as the corner we were just looking at, the Rockaway and Atlantic. It was a crazy intersection then, and it can be now today. It's really interesting when you get there too, and you look at this house in the background right here, and you see it in the old picture, and you see it here all these years later. It's a beautiful old home. It's kind of funny too, because in this picture here, the telephone pole's kind of leaning to the left, and on this one over here, it's leaning over to the right. So it's like, I guess it took all those years for it to kind of move over. Again, a surface railroad means that not only can people wander onto the tracks, but cows and animals sometimes used to get onto the tracks. And shortly after the railroad opened. You're talking like about a couple of weeks after it opened in 1836. A cow got got on got onto the tracks and was hit. And this was not a simple thing in those days. It caused the train to partially derail, and people were stuck for a long time. And it actually happened on the day of a big race at the track, and there was all sorts of chaos. But anyway, again, on the surface, there were dangers, and we'll be talking about that. And that this area right here, again, is our next stop is Woodville at 87th Street, and again, another surface station where you would step up onto the train. Sometimes they had little booths that you could seek shelter in on the cold nights. And they had like a switch watchman here would sit up there. And that's that location today. Many of you know that building as years passed as the Woodcrest, the Woodcrest Bar. And they had spots to cross the avenue. They had a few spots to cross the avenue. The tracks there, and you can see there. You can a little pathway, but obviously, if you had children, you'd be very, very nervous about letting them cross. They also had some underground tunnels that went across, and I've heard nothing but nasty stories about them. That they were not safe. They did not smell so good. But these weren't exactly safe either. And as a matter of fact, this is a story here about something that happened to someone on Atlantic Avenue right there. And I'll read this to you, but you might want to close your ears for a second. Shortly after 7 o'clock this morning, passengers standing at the depot on the Long Island Railroad Woodhaven saw what appeared to be a bundle of clothing lying beside the track on the rapid transit switch. The attention of an employee of the company being called to it, he started to pick it up and was horrified at finding the mangled remains of a man in the clothing. He was cut into pieces and every bone seemed broken. His legs fell out of the trousers and his head clung to the shoulders by a shred of flesh. You don't get that kind of details in the papers these days. The newspaper writers in those days really went out to give you all the good gore and stuff. And that's just a horrible thing that happened to this man. That accidents happen, and a lot of accidents happened along this roadway. When you read the old newspapers, there are accidents all the time. People are being killed by this train all the time because it's not above your heads on the L train tracks. It's not below the ground. It's right there. People are right next to it, and a lot of people were killed by that. Here you have a crossing, which was quite another dangerous crossing. That's Woodhaven Avenue, and there it is there. And this was a main road. Again, this is Woodhaven Avenue, Woodhaven Boulevard. This is Woodhaven Boulevard crossing Atlantic here, and this was by this time this picture was taken, you can see some automobiles there. And in that time, they would have to wait, sometimes to wait for a train to go by. You can see the poles that would go down. Anytime you have those kind of crossings, you can have some accidents. There's another view of it. This is a really nice view, and I can tell you where we are. Like you're looking, you're actually standing in Ozone Park right now, looking towards Woodhaven. On your left would be the gas station right there on Atlantic. Those houses and stuff on the right might throw you, but that's because they're all gone now. All those houses on the right-hand side, all these houses over here, they're all gone. They were torn down when they widened Woodhaven Boulevard. There's a bridge there now. And this building over here was the Port of Call, or this picture's kind of old. Now it's a different strip club. Atlantis. And this bridge over here on the right Well, that was a big controversy. The people in the neighborhood fought over this for a long, long time. They didn't want this. They felt this would divide the neighborhood between east and west around this side over there. They felt the bridge underneath would become unsightly and dirty, and they felt the area would get seedy. And if those residents that fought hard against that bridge were to come back today, I think they would feel pretty justified in their predictions, right? They wanted to keep this just as a crossing, a regular busy intersection. You know what I mean? Just wait for a light and cross. Why do you have to go over a bridge? Yeah, they had a point. It was a busy intersection, and they really needed to widen the boulevard and have all this because it was getting so busy going back and forth. And here's the thing. Hold on. Oh, I'm getting a real feel. How you doing?
Good.
Say hello to everybody. Come on. This is my wife here. Everybody saying hello.
Hello.
How is it so far?
Good.
All right. So here we are. We're looking again. Now we're actually from the Woodhaven side, looking towards Ozone Park, and again over here, this is all going to be replaced. On this, everything on the left-hand side is going to be replaced. This is a building we've never seen. Some of us may have seen it, but it was torn down, 1939, 1940. Torn down 80 years ago. Over here on the right, this would be the what is now the strip club. That's Wilmax Bar and Grill. It was a bar. They just have meetings in there and everything. It was a restaurant. And here you have that section today. So you had the Union Course and Woodville stations along Atlantic Avenue. Again, Woodville now becomes Woodhaven Station, right? And now here's what happens. You've got the Brooklyn Jamaica Railroad along Atlantic, and then you have the Union Course Station. You have Woodhaven, and I'm not showing you the Woodhaven crossing there because that's not a station. And then it starts the Rockaway branch, and you've got that line going down there. And that's where you have the New York, Woodhaven, and Rockaway Railroad. This is a merry day at Jamaica Bay. They advertise this now as a way. Think about this. Now the people who are coming, remember I showed you that hour getting from Brooklyn into Jamaica. Now they can come and they can stop here and get on a train here and go out to the Rockaways. This is a tremendous advancement in people's lives. It used to be if people wanted to go to the beach, they would have to go there and rent space there and stay there for a few days. It was too long of a trip just to go there and turn around. But now you could actually go there via the railroad and like they say there, a merry day at Jamaica Bay. It's just a day. It's going there for the day. A trip to the sea by rail, time 30 minutes. It's just a great thing, and that's when they started a station here, the Woodhaven Junction station. So now they've added a third stop in Woodhaven, Union Course, Woodhaven, and Woodhaven Junction. So now let's take a look at this. This is Woodhaven Junction today. This is sort of the border, between Woodhaven. Well, it is the border between Woodhaven and Richmond Hill, and Ozone Park and Richmond Hill. You've got this this trestle that's going over there. There's been an effort in recent years to either revive this railroad or to revive it as like a walking bicycling trail, and neither of those efforts seem to have gone very far. And who knows if they'll ever be done now under current economic conditions, right? Here's them. Here they are at Woodhaven Junction doing some construction. And then you have a nice long shot away of the railroad going down Atlantic. There in the distance, you can see the clock tower and a flag over the head. It's a great picture, right? It's just like barely visible, like in the mist over there. And again, they took advantage of having the station up there. Now they're taking these nice pictures from above this area. You'll notice this little spot over here where that, look where the clock tower is. We're like over towards the Woodhaven Junction station. You see the trains, and then you can see something going over here, right? And that's because they had Woodhaven Junction, they had an ability to pull the cars off here and pull them in behind the Woodhaven Junction building. And here you are above. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. All right, folks. So there you have the station there. Nice shot of the building here, the substation, Long Island Railroad, and there it is. There it is today along Atlantic Avenue. This is like the back of it, and this is the front, but they're very, very similar. And you can see the build of it. It was a big, imposing, beautiful building. It's in pretty bad shape now. Atlantic Avenue, Long Island Railroad, going underground. So between 1939 and 1942, there was a lot of construction around the country, and one of the big projects, and they did it rather quickly, was to put the railroad along Atlantic Avenue underground. And a lot of what they did there while they were doing this was they cut it down to a single track in each direction. You can see it. And they were on the outside out here while they dug down the middle so that they could lay the tracks down there. You have to be absolutely amazed by the way that they did this. It was just a tremendous achievement. And you can see they start building the ties on top, because now they're going to put a surface on this. And then once they get a surface and they can run the trains underground, then they can take care of the outside railings. Again, there's that roadway going off over there with the tracks, and you'll see it over here as well. And that you can still see that today. There it is again. There's a great view of it over here. The tracks going right off there again behind the substation. And if you look today, you see this little road off Atlantic that cuts down behind here. That's where the tracks used to be. Whenever you see that now, you'll know, hey, that's where the railroad tracks. That's where they used to go. So we have the bridge, the bridge we talked about before. That was so controversial. And this is a really nice shot too, because you see this bridge and you see this one down here, and you can see the construction. There's still railing here, but they're moving along. A lot of work going on there at once. You have to think around. It must have been crazy around the neighborhood at the time with all this construction. And then here's the same bridge today. There's a nice view of the Woodhaven Junction station again, where people could get off the train here and then go up and catch the train elsewhere. Really nice, right? Would be nice to have something like that. Here is that trestle today. And here's some shots of it underground. We don't have any stations here in Woodhaven anymore. Nor Ozone Park, sorry. Beautiful looking stations. You can see them when you're on the railroad and you pass through them. That's about it. And here, this is a great shot. I wish I had a real clear shot of this. This is actually in a book. I scanned it, and it had different pictures of stuff. You can see right down the bottom corner. You see the number 7. It had like different pictures, and they had them numbered down below. They had a caption. This was Atlantic Avenue on the first day that it was open to vehicle traffic. So this is the first time, the first time cars have driven on Atlantic Avenue and the railroads underneath. What a difference that must have meant for people. Look how different it is. I mean, obviously back then less cars, but to cross that, it was definitely something, a big achievement, a big change in the neighborhood.